boy, oh boy, New World Gamers. It's me, Lamani, and we have some news today. Welcome back to the channel. We have our PTR, slight delays, but we're here. And if you don't know, it's going to be live at 10 a.m. Pacific time or noon for your regular people who are on Central time. Now, I don't know if you just don't have a linguistic inclination or perhaps you just don't know how to read, but I'm here to go through the patch notes, give you my thoughts and feelings. And I'm going to be honest, just giving it a brief overview. I haven't given it the super in-depth look, so this will kind of be my first take, but there's a lot of balanced things coming, a lot more than we thought, and there will certainly be some meta shifts. So let's dive into this. One quick disclaimer before we go into this. I will be covering a lot of content on the channel, and I will have lots of videos, especially today. PTR's here, things on perks, the expedition first look guide, battle pass overview, everything that I can possibly imagine. So keep your eyes peeled on this content. Drop a sub, drop a like, do the things to get the points, and I will be here with everything you need to know on what's coming with Season 1. So first things first, we have world experience. What are we seeing here? A lot of like bug fixes, a lot of quality of life things, just updating, for instance, grammar on some of these quests. There's just a lot of open world things, quest adjustments here. Nothing really notable, things you might pick up along the way. But again, fixed UI bugs, fixed bugs. Expeditions, kind of the same deal. Achievement text, retargeted mission, fixed issues, just not really anything like super in depth. Where we're really going to see it is all of the other things coming in. The one thing I will say is removing the mutator affix for elemental resistance, which we knew was coming. So you who want to play mage builds, you can certainly do so now. And range builds as well. We're getting AI fixes. Again, not anything too huge. Where we're really going to start to see it is these combat changes. And it's interesting. I have mixed feelings. I'm going to basically just say there's no more staggers in the game, it feels. But anyway, all right, Heart Rune first. We know Firestorm's coming. It's going to create an AoE tornado, it looks like. We'll see. It doesn't actually have the versions on here, so maybe I'll make a YouTube short or something, and we can cover everything with that. All right, we're going to see it first with mitigation formula. Updated PvP damage mitigation formula to better scale mitigation across a variety of players' gear scores. Interested to see what that is. But the other thing is changing Fortify and Rending to directly scale with players' armor rating. Increased Fortify and Rend caps to account for these changes. This could be interesting. It could make more value in PvP for applying Rends. I know it's going to make people a bit more chunky with Fortify, obviously, but I think you're going to start to see a more heavy armor shift, and they really, really want to get people out of light armor. Critical hits, they're going to change the damage calculation to be additive instead of multiplicative, but they're also going to adjust critical hit chance to no longer increase by your total crit hit chance. It's now the chance will increase based on the weapon's base critical hit chance for each non-critical hit that is triggered. What does that mean? It should mean that you are critting less because it's not going to, every time you were missing a critical hit, it was adding the chance of what you had on your gear and everything else. So it was sort of like a bad luck protection in a sense. Well, now this is going to only apply the amount based on your weapon's critical hit chance, meaning less critical hits, which could in turn mean rezeal isn't as valuable in a sense, right? Especially with maybe some of the changes that we might see. Otherwise, increased base critical hit chance for a couple weapons. So magic weapons, Firestaff, VGIG, you VGIG users, there you go. Firestaff, 6%, that's pretty nice. But bow, 2%, okay. And all other weapons by 4%, so it's not really that crazy. Next, we have equip loadouts. This is interesting. This is basically if you're in heavy or medium. If you're a freedom enjoyer, well, you're basically just getting innate freedom from medium and heavy. You get 10% reduced CC debuff duration and 20% in heavy. This could very well mean that many players shift into medium, but for all of you who spent gold cap on freedom sets, it could either be a very, very good thing or a very, very bad thing. It's either going to make it extremely good or it's just going to completely remove its necessity and you're going to want new gear. So good luck, have fun. Next thing, we're seeing a big grit shift. So the 300 strength is now going to move to 300 con, meaning players will not get innate grit. For all of you Great Axe enjoyers, I'm sorry, I know there are going to be tears, but this is now the 300 con bonus. On 300 strength, you now get increased heavy attack damage. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see what happens here. It could make it great. It could make it feel really, really bad. We're going to have to test it on the PTR and see, but essentially nothing is really going to have grit other than your abilities now. So for everybody who's paid gold cap for a thwarting strikes axe, it might not be as valuable. Other than that, just fixing issues on general buffs, other performance, updated magic weapon, heavy attacks to have a more reliable buffer, but nothing else that's really as crazy. They did create an exhaust and a stamina regen cap. Other than that, nothing really else. We go into actual weapon updates here. So taunts, there's going to be a lot more options for taunting as a tank. You get some cool magic ones, some other ones on the blunderbuss with blast shot, but that's not really valuable. Cyclone on spear, maelstrom, that's pretty good for tanks, and then mighty gavel and calamity counter. So already some weapons that had some taunt compatibility, but just adding in a little bit more, especially with magic weapons. Magic weapons also no longer require any mana costs for their light attacks. That's in general across the board. This is pretty nice. I think it's a good quality of life fix that was just kind of an annoyance at times, and I think it's going to be something good for the game. Crowd control balancing. They looked at all the weapons. They adjusted crowd control and attacks that are meant to deal damage, and they removed a ton of staggers. I'm telling you, this is the anti-grit, anti-stagger patch, and because they're removing that grit, I guess it kind of makes sense for them to remove all these staggers, but these staggers are going to make a lot of people upset. We're seeing a nerf on all the Warhammer abilities, pretty much the meta abilities, except for clear out, but significant damage nerfs here across the board, 20, 30, and even 40% on Wrecking Ball. Sword and shield users, you're getting nerfed as well. Good luck. But shield bash, that damage upgrade is now 75%. Damage on shield rush is reduced by 25%. Shield rush does have its improved weaken ability up 10%, but leaping strike nerf 50%, and reverse stab no longer staggers. So for those of you who were a PvP demon with reverse stab and wanting it to stagger to keep doing CC chains, sorry. Spear, javelin damage reduced. Perforate, its final upgrade no longer staggers and now puts a weaken on the target. So that's pretty strong, and it only really gets used in PvE, so this just makes it that much better. Sweeps knockdown reduced by 30% damage. Greatsword, calamity counter damage reduced. Steadfast strike reduced in damage, and Skyward Slash's first hit reduced by 30%. Rapier, no staggers on flourish and finish. This is going to make FNF feel pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. I was using it as a healer. I know some other healers that were using it, and this pretty much removes all the capability of it. So we're going to have to go back to our post there. Even you Dex users who are using it, no stagger. It's going to be tougher to secure kills with it, and you can't really use it for that sort of defensive peel that you might have before that was allowing you to pick up the kills in the first place. And then just some flurry adjustments, making it no longer stagger as well and apply actually a bleed. Great Axe, Reap nerf, Gravity Well, upward melee swing damage reduced from 99% to 25%. Now, you might not have hit that often with it, but that's still a pretty big nerf there, as well as Gravity Well's Vortex nerf, and then Insatiable Grav also nerfed. So a complete Gravity Well nerf across the board. Feral Rush nerf, Bow, Evade Shot, because lots of you were using Evade Shot. That's nerfed significantly, and no more stagger on Rapid Shot, which might make it more difficult to secure some kills. Stopping power on Musket nerf, not necessarily what we wanted to see, but still 30%. More people might switch to Grenade. Ice Spikes, this one makes me upset, but no longer staggers. This was really nice to pick up kills. Not many players used Ice Spikes in the first place, and it kind of made that niche Ice Spikes build more viable in a sense. And then we see a VG Scream nerf by 30% damage. Fixed a couple issues with the Blunderbuss regarding mortar charges and entering a menu, but other than that, it's just little additional like mortar charge related things or animation canceling things. Bow ability updates. We're going to get into some of these, but Pen Shot, Deep Strike upgrade, that has a damage reduction by 5%. Long range passive reduced by 5%. Opening strike reduced 10%. And then finishing shot reduced 5%. So just some minor bow adjustments in terms of damage here. I'm not quite sure when it comes to Fire Staff if this is their first playability pass and this is their essential rework that they're doing, but we'll have to see. There are some significant changes. So with Pillar of Fire, they're increasing its radius by 0.5 meter. And then they're reducing its time to trigger. So it's going to come out faster, and they're reducing its damage slightly because of that. So it should be easier to hit. First strike upgrade, this is going to be changing from basing it on the target's HP, but now dealing 5% per stack of Smolder on the target, and it's a complete new rename for it. So we'll have to see. Arson's Advantage, you now have increased mana from that. I still don't think that's going to be super value. Ear Shower is interesting. It's now like Ice Storm. So it's going to take 1 second where you have to channel it, and then it's going to remain active for another 4 seconds. They're increasing its initial damage on hit. They're updating its status effect to a tick every 0.75 seconds, and they're increasing its tick damage base from 25% to 50%. This, adjusted with its perk, is going to make it very strong. You're going to start to see a lot of Meteor Shower users, and be ready for that in Wars. Just complete Meteor Shower spam. We'll have to see. Immolation upgrade, mana per hit is never just really that great, so there's that. They're changing Judgment of Helios a little bit. They're now making it a part of Meteor Shower, and it's when you hit enemies with a light or heavy attack, they add a stack of Smolder. So that'll be interesting as well. Again, lots of changes here. And then they changed Fiery Determination to be the final upgrade of Meteor Shower. So this is going to force all fire staffs that are currently there to be respect and have some adjustments here. Fireball, it no longer has its AoE. Its damage is now focused. It has more of a dot applied when you hit it, and it does have increased damage by 10%. So that's pretty strong, and then especially with Empowering Fireball, that'd be pretty good. It's changing its Scorched Earth upgrade to now apply a stack of Smolder. I'm assuming, again, doesn't say exactly what Smolder is from what I'm looking anywhere in here, but Smolder sounds like it is going to be a dot. Incinerate is getting a buff. They're speeding up the startup of the attack, increasing its damage and adding grit baseline. So that means they're going to remove the second hit off of Flameout and then actually change it to grant a stack of Empower per hit with up to 15% of total Empower. Burnout, we're going to see they're setting the distance increase upgrade to just be the base movement distance, so you don't have to burn the points into it. But what they're then doing is they're changing its distance upgrade to actually be that the ability triggers an explosion right as it ends. Imagine comboing this with a detonate. You're going to have some insane combos. Now they're also adjusting some of these passives, like more mana per hit. Singed is now light and heavy attacks applying the burn. Flare now has a 1 meter splash on impact. Pyromania increases damage versus burning enemies. Heated Up is dodging through an attack, inflicts a burn on the target. This could get a little interesting. Trial by Fire, it's an activation condition change where you have to hit a target within 4 meters of the player, and it's going to increase its damage over time effect from 5% to 20% and decrease its duration from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, and decreasing that 2-minute cooldown, something like Enchanted Justice has too, to 30 seconds. Rune of Helios, it's going to increase the AoE radius of it actually, and then reduce the damage bonus from 25 to 20%. And Reheat's getting a change where if you hit a target with a heavy attack that has 5 stacks of burn, it'll pop all 5 stacks and deal 100% damage in AoE. Okay, that's a little scary. That could be very scary if used properly, so just be aware. Firestaff, I would assume this is its overall playability pass, and it is interesting. Next, moving on to Great Axe. Gravity Will is now considered a ranged attack. Will this change some damage calculation things? Technically, I guess it would apply the sighted Rune Glass and maybe do more damage, so get your brains out there. And Charge just had an incorrect range description. It now goes 15 meters like it was, but it just said 10 on the tooltip. Sword now, we see the homing change they talked about. The quick bonus charge time, they're actually increasing the time it takes to charge while you're in Onslaught to only be 50% faster instead of twice as fast. This is a huge nerf, quite honestly. Crosscut, increased cooldown. Relentless Rush, its adaptive rush upgrade with the root is now only a half-second root. They're reducing some damage things. The Swift Onslaught passive that makes you have increased haste. This is now going to trigger off of ability hits instead of just activating Onslaught Stance or on an actual ability. And then just several of the tooltips are going to add some more clarity. Hatchet, we get a Defy Death Rework. It's reducing its invincibility to just half a second, and it's going to grant 500 HP plus 50% of max health upon its activation. So it's kind of still like a cheat death, but it's more of, hey, you're going to get just half a second, but then you're going to get a burst heal. Just some other changes. Fortifying Strikes, they made it to 1 heavy attack, so it can trigger more often. Otherwise, it's changing Enraged Strikes from being all basic attacks to heavy attacks and abilities. Berserking Refresh upgrade, we're now getting 5% lifesteal while Berserk is active instead of the flat amount of HP, so slight Berserk change. This could actually be a little bit better at times if you're in like PvE, but it's not going to be great for PvP. Ice Gauntlet, just Ice Pylon and Tomb and Wind Chill changes, nothing that actually is like monumental that we're going to talk about. Life Staff, Absolve passive is now for heavy attacks because, well, we don't need mana for light attacks anyway, but removed the required connection between Absolved, Mending Touch, and Blissful Touch passives in the Healing Life Staff tree. We'll get into that. well, it's nothing big. It's just because of some of these changes. Sacred Ground upgrade, it's now going to reduce the stamina regen from 50% to 25%. I don't think that's going to be very noticeable. That's about it. Just some bug adjustments. Musket, there's just some trap things so that doesn't get put on cooldown. Steady Hands passive. This is going to increase accuracy of a musket shot when aimed on sight for 2 seconds. Increased accuracy will reset after a shot is fired. This will help with the new changes to the way that the musket is actually being fired with its aiming inaccuracy stuff. They're also going to update the musket's reticle so that it's not going to probably switch back and forth between some random reticle like the bug was happening, but so it's better functioning with the musket accuracy system. We don't know what the system's going to be yet, but we'll see. We'll dive into it on PTR. Gauntlet, they're adding just not really that much other than Baleful Tether and Essence Rupture having increased damage when hitting the target. So their initial impact damage is increasing, so maybe some things we can do there. And then the Tether increased range. Still going to break. Still going to break. Otherwise, Oblivion, quick change, 25% stamina regen rate instead of a flat amount of stamina per second. That's probably not going to feel as good, so just be aware of that when you're playing. All the passives they adjusted, nothing really important, nothing that's really being used in the meta, just slight adjustment. We have Meteor Shower changes. So to compensate for all of its increased power, they're going to make its duration 6 seconds instead of 10 seconds. Empowering Incinerate, it used to be stable Incinerate. It's now getting a name change. They're removing the grit from its perk, and they're increasing its max damage. So that's some changes there that we have to be aware of. Empowering Fireball is getting a change where it's only targets above 50% health. Efficient Burnout is now Fortifying Burnout, so it's not going to increase fire damage because we get so many different fire damage increases that it's now going to apply a Fortify. This most likely, if I had to guess, isn't worth taking. We now also see some changes here. Accuracy perk, whatever. Mortal Empowerment only lasts for 2 minutes, and the max stack is 10. They remove the ability for the duration to be refreshed with each kill. So you have a 2-minute duration. This duration does not get refreshed for each kill. So it's how many kills can you pick up within 2 minutes and get increased damage? Guaranteed this is not worth using. It could be if you were going to just really snowball, but it does not have the same power. I think you're going to be better off taking other options. So, Mortal Empowerment enjoyers, I apologize for you. Trenchant Recovery change for Lifesteal, Refreshing Move and Refreshing Torrent. This is going to make it so you can't just have constant cooldown reduction. So it has a 0.2 second cooldown, so they only trigger once per attack. Keep that aware. We have 10% max damage on magic and ranged weapons. We knew about that. Other things, not really anything notable. It's just random fixed issues. There are no longer target dummies that can be attacked in wars. So defense meta, this is helping out with that. I like that change. We're getting this some cool war stuff. Defenders can now select spawn points inside fort. This is big. This is going to help a lot so you don't just get put into bad spawns. And attacker siege weapon blueprints can now auto-build themselves when being placed. That could have some viability. Increased score in Outpost Rush for players when they're capturing or contesting the circles. Interesting. Just personal score, not overall team score. And then just some general fixes across the board for everything else. We're improving invasion rewards. Players now receive 3 pieces of epic or greater corruption ward armor, a weapon, and a chance at jewelry. You also get umbral shards, territory standing coin, and faction tokens when you complete it. So that's pretty good as well. Now, we're going to get into economy, progression, and gear. I apologize. This is a long video. There's a lot of things we got to cover. Pretty much everything here, general, just nothing really that great. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just progression while you're leveling, things like that. They're adjusting the loot tables for ammo. That's the one thing there, so you won't get iron arrows all the time. So just be aware of that. The other thing is they added the perk Resilient as a possible perk when crafting items using the Summer Medley Fair patterns. So like Colorful Kraken, Sturgeon Style, and Masked Mackerel crafting patterns. Those are the biggest takeaways I have from this one, but that's about it. Nothing else too big. Progression gear, same kind of deal. It's just a bunch of random fixing errors, adjusting typos. Notable fixes, nothing very notable. Progression, updating tooltips. Trade skills, they made it so that we can use them with tools and bags, golden scarabs that is, and that's pretty much it as far as there. And then same with stopwatches too. I think those can also be used with tools and bags. They increased XP from music performances and now UI stuff, so there's nothing really that great. Marks of Fortune stuff, fixing UI bugs, Again, I'm not going to dive into the really, really specific things because the great things were all the balance changes. And then just in general, not really anything else coming out of any of these changes. It's just fixing bugs, adjusting slight things that you're going to notice over time, quality of life improvements. You're going to see some crafting things that are nice, like they're going to maintain the ingredients that were there. Quality of improvements. The one thing that sticks out to me is crafting an item. Your recipe will actually leave your previously selected ingredients there for bulk crafting purposes. And that's about it. There's an apply skin button for single skin items and skin sets, so you can do that. But nothing else too crazy there. Then just some audio improvements, some miscellaneous adjustments, like ear clipping on some of your helmets. Perhaps that was something you really were annoyed by, but that's pretty much it, people. So what do we get from this? There's going to be no grit on 300 strength. That's something I was interested to see if they would do. We have a lot of nerfs, fire staff rework, no more staggers on a lot of things, and we've got a lot to be excited for. So like I said, check out the channel because there will be more videos coming on this PTR. I'll be into it today. But other than that, you're going to need to keep your eyes peeled on Icy Veins, okay? So if you don't know, I'm writing Icy Veins guides. All of our weapons are almost there. We have 2 more to do. Everything else is pretty much live, and there's going to be a lot of adjustments that now need to happen because of all these changes. So get excited, especially with the fire staff, and I will see you there. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you really wanted to sit here and listen to my entire voice this whole time, if you stuck it out, you're a soldier. Taka, grow up, and have a great day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And thank you to every single one of you beautiful people for being you. Peace.